Welcome back for another deep dive. This time we're really digging into the insights of Dr. Wole Kajola.
Oh, yeah, he's a big name in Nigerian real estate and hospitality.
He is, and we've got a really interesting mix of sources for this one: excerpts from articles he's written, some interviews he's given, even a bit from his own book.
Sounds like we're in for a treat, a real in-depth look at his take on real estate investment, building businesses that thrive, and, well, facing the realities of Nigeria's economy.
Exactly. We want to give our listeners, well, you, a clear understanding of his perspective.
Especially given the current economic climate, things are, well, they're pretty turbulent right now.
They are. So to kick things off, Dr. Kajola is a firm believer in real estate as a timeless investment. He calls it an evergreen asset.
Which, makes sense on a basic level. People always need shelter.
Right, but he goes beyond that. He points to the fact that in cities like Lagos, where you have massive population growth and limited land, that scarcity drives up value over time.
Ah, so it's not just about the need for shelter, it's about the fundamentals of supply and demand.
Exactly. And he really emphasizes looking beyond the short-term market fluctuations.
Which can be tough. It's easy to get caught up in the hype or panic depending on what the market's doing.
Absolutely, but he advises investors to think long-term, to focus on locations with high population density and limited land availability.
To ride out those dips and peaks knowing that the underlying value is there?
Yeah. He even has this great anecdote in one of his articles. He says, the fact that some people lack funds today doesn't mean others don't have them.
Hmm, I like that. Simple but powerful.
Right. He goes on to say, people are still building houses, buying land, and seeking accommodations. So even when times are tough, there's always a segment of the market that's active.
He's really hitting on the psychological aspect of investing here. It's about not letting fear dictate your decisions.
And his own career really embodies this. He didn't just talk the talk, he walked the walk.
Right, his own success story is a pretty compelling example. I mean, he founded Whitefield Hotels, and he built Wole Kajola and Associates from the ground up.
Two completely different businesses, but both incredibly successful, and both rooted in real estate, either directly or indirectly.
That's a pretty powerful testament to the potential of the industry, especially in a market like Nigeria.
It is, but let's be real for a second. Nigeria's economy is facing some serious challenges right now.
Yeah, no sugarcoating it. Cement and metal prices, for example, they're through the roof. Inflation is hitting everyone hard.
And that directly impacts the cost of construction, which then impacts affordability.
It's a tough situation, but he doesn't shy away from it. In fact, he addresses it head on.
He does. He has this quote where he says, the key is resilience. Real estate is forever viable, but innovation and smart planning can help bridge the gap.
So it's not about ignoring the problems. It's about adapting.
Exactly. And maybe that means exploring alternative building materials or embracing new construction technologies that are more cost-effective.
Right. He also really stresses the importance of delivering exceptional value to clients, no matter the economic climate.
That's a key point. So, for example, his firm really prioritizes energy-efficient designs in their development projects.
Which makes sense long term, right? Might cost a bit more upfront, but the savings on energy bills down the line make the property more attractive.
Especially in a tough market where people are really scrutinizing their expenses.
And that ties into another big theme that emerges from his work: customer satisfaction.
That's interesting how he connects customer satisfaction back to resilience in a way.
He sees it as the foundation for building a business that can weather any storm.
And again, he practices what he preaches. At Whitefield Hotels, they do these monthly reviews, digging deep into guest feedback, both positive and negative, and they use that feedback to constantly improve.
I like that he specifically calls out negative feedback.
Me too. He views complaints not as attacks, but as valuable data points.
He literally says, every complaint is an opportunity to learn and improve, which, when you think about it, is a pretty powerful mindset shift.
It is, and you see that philosophy in action at Whitefield Hotels. They added local cuisine to their menu based on customer suggestions.
So they took that negative feedback and turned it into a tangible improvement.
Exactly. And it's not just hotels. At his real estate development firm, they put a huge emphasis on listening to each client's needs and tailoring solutions accordingly.
He calls listening the most powerful business tool, which, is simple but often overlooked.
It really speaks to his focus on building long-term relationships, not just chasing quick transactions.
Absolutely. When clients feel valued and heard, they become advocates for your business.
And that's the kind of organic growth that's sustainable in the long run.
Way more effective than any flashy marketing campaign could ever be.
Agreed. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have. We've talked about his core belief in real estate as a timeless investment, his emphasis on resilience in the face of economic challenges, and his unwavering focus on customer satisfaction.
And all of this is really rooted in his own experiences building two successful businesses.
and facing those same challenges head on.
It's a pretty inspiring story, and it sets the stage for what we're going to explore next, his vision for the future of real estate in Nigeria.
I'm really curious to hear his take on that, especially given all the changes happening right now, not just in Nigeria, but globally.
Me too, so stay tuned because we'll be back with more from Dr. Kajola in part 2 of this deep dive.
Okay, so let's dive into what Dr. Kajola sees coming down the pipeline for real estate in Nigeria. He's identified these 4 key trends: urbanization, smart homes, and all the tech integration that comes with that, sustainability, and mixed-use developments. And these aren't just Nigerian trends, they're global. But seeing them through the lens of a dynamic market like Nigeria, that's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. So first up, urbanization. Nigeria's got this booming population, and everyone's moving to the cities, Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, you name it.
Huge demand for housing, but Dr. Kajola, he's not just talking about building more houses, he's pushing for something more, thoughtful.
He's all about affordable housing solutions, making sure everyone has a place to live, not just the wealthy.
And he talks about building up, not just out. High-rise apartment buildings instead of sprawling suburbs. Makes sense, right? Especially when land is scarce.
Yeah, it's using that limited space wisely and incorporating green spaces into those urban developments.
He's really big on that. Not just concrete jungles, but actual livable, breathable cities.
That ties into his focus on sustainability, which we'll get to in a bit, but it's clear he sees affordable housing as a social responsibility, not just a business opportunity. Okay, let's shift gears to technology. Dr. Kajola seems pretty excited about the potential of smart homes and all the tech that comes with them.
Yeah, he sees it as a way to make things more efficient, more transparent, and more secure. Like using blockchain for property transactions, that's something his firm is actually exploring right now.
So how does blockchain work in real estate? I feel like I hear that term all the time, but I'm not really sure how it actually applies.
It's kind of like imagine a digital ledger where every property transaction is recorded, and it's completely secure, can't be tampered with.
Ah, so it cuts down on the potential for fraud and disputes, which can be a big problem in real estate, makes things more efficient and secure.
Exactly. And then there's the smart home stuff, things like lighting systems that adjust automatically, appliances you can control remotely, all that stuff.
That sounds great, but I do wonder about the affordability in the Nigerian context. Are those features accessible to everyone?
That's a good point. Dr. Kajola acknowledges that cost is a factor, but he believes that as the technology gets more mainstream, prices will come down.
So it's about making that tech more accessible over time, not just a luxury for the wealthy few. Okay, let's talk about sustainability. That's a topic he's clearly passionate about.
You can see it in both Whitefield Hotels and his development firm. They're all about incorporating eco-friendly designs in their projects. Solar power, rainwater harvesting, natural ventilation, they're doing it all.
It's more than just talk, they're actually implementing these things.
And it goes beyond just the green features. He's also focused on using sustainable building materials, things like locally sourced bamboo. It's a fast-growing, sustainable alternative to timber, plus it supports local economies.
It's a win-win, so it's about a more holistic approach to sustainable development, considering both the environmental and economic impact.
Right, and that leads us to our final trend. Mixed-use developments. It's all about combining residential spaces with commercial spaces, shops, offices, restaurants, all that in one place.
Creating these vibrant, self-contained communities where people can live, work, and play without having to rely on cars so much.
Which helps reduce traffic congestion, promotes a more walkable lifestyle, and creates a more vibrant local economy.
It makes a lot of sense, especially as cities get more and more crowded. Does he give any specific examples of successful mixed-use developments in Nigeria?
He points to the Eco-Atlantic project in Lagos. It's this massive development built on reclaimed land with high-rise towers, office spaces, shopping malls, even a marina. It's like a city within a city.
Wow, that's ambitious.
Here it is. And while Eco-Atlantic is definitely high-end, Dr. Kajola believes those mixed-use principles can be applied at different scales and for different income levels, making cities more livable for everyone.
It's about fostering community interaction and creating that sense of place. So moving away from those car-centric, sprawling suburbs that have become so common.
Exactly. He sees a future where Nigerian cities are more pedestrian-friendly, with vibrant public spaces, good public transportation, and these mixed-use developments catering to everyone's needs.
It's a pretty compelling vision, not just for Nigeria, but for cities all over the world. You know, it's pretty amazing how these trends all circle back to Dr. Kajola's belief in real estate as a force for good, you know, for creating positive change. It's not just about profits, it's about building a better future for Nigeria.
Exactly. He sees real estate as this engine for economic growth, for creating jobs, for strengthening communities. But he doesn't stop there.
Right. He recognizes that there's a responsibility that comes with developing land and building.
Absolutely, a social and environmental responsibility.
He's pushing for a more mindful approach to real estate, you know, one that takes into account the needs of, well, everyone, now and in the future.
He's a big believer in sustainability. And not because it's fashionable, but because he sees it as, well, a moral imperative. We have to protect the environment, create spaces that are healthy and livable for everyone.
And that brings us back to his whole never settle philosophy. It's not just about achieving success for yourself, it's about using that success to have a positive impact, about raising the bar for yourself and for everyone around you.
He challenges us to think bigger, to be more innovative, to never compromise our values. He's always asking, how can we do better? And that applies to everything from how we design buildings to how we interact with clients and communities.
It's about moving beyond just transactions and embracing a more well-rounded view of success, one that includes social and environmental responsibility.
Exactly. And that's where his personal story becomes so inspiring. He started with very little, but through sheer hard work and determination, and that refusal to settle for mediocrity, he built two incredibly successful businesses and became a real leader in his field.
He's a living example of what's possible with vision, perseverance, and believing in yourself.
His story shows us that success isn't about luck or privilege. It's about having a clear vision, working hard, and staying committed to excellence.
And those are qualities that anyone can develop, no matter where they come from or what their circumstances are.
Right. He encourages young entrepreneurs to think big, to be bold, to not let their current limitations define them. He talks about how important mentorship is, surrounding yourself with people who inspire you and challenge you to grow.
It's about creating a supportive network where you can learn from each other, share ideas, and push each other to reach your full potential.
And he also stresses the importance of never stopping learning, never becoming complacent, always looking for ways to improve your skills and your knowledge.
Being a lifelong student, embracing challenges, constantly looking for ways to innovate and evolve.
And that's why I think his insights are so relevant, not just for people in real estate, but for anyone who wants to achieve their full potential in any field.
It's a universal message, a call to action to embrace your own power and use your talents and passions to make the world a better place.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with this question. What are you going to do with the knowledge and inspiration you've gained from Dr. Kajola?
How will you apply that never settle philosophy to your own life, your career, your journey?
Remember, the future isn't something that just happens to us. We create it. One decision, one action, one step at a time.
And like Dr. Kajola has shown us, even when things are challenging and uncertain, there's always room for innovation, for growth, for building a better future together.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you found it as insightful and inspiring as we did.
And until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and never settle for anything less than your full potential.